this is probably the most speculated and anticipated episode yet in all of Heartland history. You know, we've had seasons where we end on a cliffhanger, like Grandpa Jack laying lifeless in the snow, and that was a whole 6 months of viewers not knowing, you know, what's going to happen. And I think the thought that something very emotional and potentially heartbreaking could happen is something that a lot of fans are just they don't know what to do. You know, this is their world, and Heartland means so much. And that's probably the greatest compliment that we can get, creating a show that people genuinely love and are so consumed into the roles that we play. And really, that's the best pat on the back that I can get for what I do, because they truly believe that us as actors in those characters are real. We bring them to life. And that's what every actor hopes for. It's interesting when we look at the bigger picture of filmmaking. And these stories were written in December of 2019. So well before lockdown happened, well before anyone mentioned the coronavirus. So this was a story that was well established, well underway, and almost ready to begin shooting right when lockdown started. So we were in prep. We were ready to go to camera in April of 2020. The stories were all written, completed, everything that you see this season, with some minor changes, because of course, when we were filming in April, May, June, July, August, those are spring and summer scripts. So the stories were made for spring, summer scripts, weather. So when we were pushed due to lockdown and trying to figure out exactly how we were going to go into production in a safe manner, we had to be postponed until September. So now you're taking spring, summer scripts and turning them into fall, winter scripts. So there were a few story details that had to be adapted to the changing seasons. For example, there's a few different rodeo aspects to it. Those were originally supposed to be outside. We had to move them into an indoor arena. Same with polo. We had a big polo match that was supposed to be out on a big, beautiful, green, lush polo field in the middle of summer. That was adapted to be indoors as well. We were able to add some beautiful scenes that I've been waiting for many, many years, and they need a winter setting. And when we were given that winter setting, that allowed the writers to add in a few wintry sport moments that I think is it really adds to the story. And in a way, the fall winter climate, it tells the story of grief better than a spring summer story. Because we do have to remember, this is a television show. We're trying to create mood. We're trying to create this atmosphere for the characters. And so to have the mood that's already set for us, this table is set just by the changing of the seasons. In a way, I call it the Heartland horseshoe. Things just seem to happen for Heartland that make stories better, even when they're completely out of our control. And I think that's the case with this year.
This season is unlike any other for Amy. And we did see her cope with the death of her mother in season 1. And of course, that was a very emotional journey. And she had Ty there as her support and to talk to him and to explain things that were going on. And this year, when she lost Ty, was who does she go to? And I was just speaking with Michelle yesterday, and we were talking about how this season, Amy's been more connected to the family than ever before. And I believe that's because in previous years, it was always Amy and Ty on their own journey, and the Heartland family on the same path, but in a different way. And this year, now that Ty's absent, we have Amy in these beautiful scenes with Grandpa Jack and with Lou and the Heartland family. And it really shows how, in times of great loss, a family is brought together.
And I have described this season as a beautiful season, and I know a lot of people caught me in that and said, how can it be beautiful if Ty dies? And again, I'm not describing that event as beautiful. I'm describing this season as beautiful because it's how everybody comes together that is so impactful. And I hope that viewers are ready to take this journey with us, because it's a story worth telling. People, I believe, felt a little bit betrayed. People thought, wait a minute, you share all kinds of stuff with us. Why are you hiding this from us? Why aren't you telling us this if this actually happens? And I think, big stretches, Remy. I think for fans of the show and viewers that have been watching the Amy and Ty relationship for so many years, this was a shock, of course, as this was a very unexpected and unwelcomed idea, I think, for a lot of people. And that's the biggest thing, the biggest challenge we face as the Heartland group, is to, how do we move forward from this idea? How do we carry on stories that people want to watch, that people are impacted by, that people feel something from? And I think, death is never really planned. We don't know that in our own lives, we don't know how long we have. We don't know how long our loved ones have. And I think that that's something that a lot of people, they don't even want to think about. But this gives us an opportunity when we watch the show and we see this family grieving and honoring the character of Ty. I hope it gives all of us an opportunity to look around and know that, we really don't know how much time we have. And if we only had today, how would we live it? And how would we treat the people around us? And I think that's an important message for anyone. I don't care who you are. It's living in the moment, it's being present, and it's being kind. Because if I were to leave this earth tomorrow, I hope that people know and remember me as someone who was compassionate and caring and kind and loving, not someone who was in a rush to get to the next place or was just trying to continually move my life in a certain direction. I think when it all comes down to it, we can learn a lot from this. An idea from our director, Pierre Tremblay, and that wasn't written, that was not in the script. And he said, I really want viewers to see this image of a hurting Amy, an Amy that has been completely shattered from everything that we know in the past, and to start the episode with feeling that, and then to end the episode with that little hint of light. And we know that Amy has to be there for her daughter, and she loves her daughter more than anything in the world. And that is such an important message to show, is that we lose people in our lives. We are all going to lose someone in our life at some point. And to know that moving forward and being there for the people that are still in your life is so important. Because if Amy just shut down and completely checked out, what would that do to her daughter? And so that was the biggest message that I wanted to portray in the whole season of season 14. And Pierre was really on board with me in that idea. And I kept saying, and we would have all kinds of conversations to thread that message through episode 1 and to say, yes, she's a grieving widow. And of course, this is the most traumatizing thing that has happened. And we also have to remember this story started with the death of Amy's mother. So she's not foreign to loss. She has had to grieve like no child should have to grieve. And now she's going through it all again. But this time, she has to be there for her own daughter. So this is a different healing experience for her. And it's a moment of strength and empowerment for not just who she is, but to be there for her daughter and the rest of her family. Is a complete emotional roller coaster for not only the Heartland members and family members, but for the viewers. I think throughout the season, it's very important for my character to recognize that she is the support system for her daughter.
Over the years, they've followed that relationship from the day they met to getting engaged, to getting married, to having a child together. And the Heartland viewers have been there every step of the way. So what is Heartland without Ty? And that was a big question that all of us had. And we thought, okay, so if Graham's not coming back, what does that look like? And I think in the real world, we never get to decide when people leave us. You know, that's an unfortunate truth, is that sometimes they're taken too soon. But we don't decide to just stop everything because that happened. It's a very unfortunate thing, and as with the characters on Heartland, losing Ty is a horrible loss. But does that mean it's the end? Of course not. I think it's the beginning of something new. And it's the beginning of showing these characters and their strength and the way that they deal with this situation, and how not only do they move on, but they move forward. And I think that's the important message here. It's Ty's not forgotten. There's no way that these characters are just going to move on and forget about Ty. But the journey of how they can start to move forward and put their lives back together. And for Amy, that's mostly focused on her daughter. Because of course she has to be strong for her family and her horses and everything else that she has in her life. But most importantly, it's Lindy. And I think that's the journey that is most interesting to me.
This, of course, is not a story point that's just forgotten. The death of this character is season 14, and we needed to honor that. This is a character that viewers and fans have loved for so many, over a decade. And this show, this couple, this family has been in the living rooms of people around the world for many, many years. So we need to honor that character and go through that journey together. And I hope that people will cry with us, grieve with us, laugh with us, have tears with us. And really, I think that is what good television is. When you are so captivated by those stories, when you're so consumed into that family. To talk about Amy's story, well, first of all, I think we know there's going to be some horses involved. So that's not really giving anything away. Amy has always used horses to heal her soul. Just from the start of the series, Spartan, after the death of her mother, really was what brought Amy to this full circle of growth and empowerment. And we do see that again this season. We see a lot of really nice moments, mother-daughter moments. And that was a lot of fun for me to play, because the twins who play the role of Lindy, Ruby and Emanuela, they're now 4 years old. So they have this beautiful, blooming personality, and they understand what we're doing now, when they were younger, because they started the show when they were 6 months old. So before, it was more about just engaging with them, playing with them, and whatever happens, happens, and we just make it work into the script. But now that they're 4 and they've been on the show for almost their whole life, they understand the concept of what we're doing. And so I had the discussion with them. They're very intelligent young girls. And I said, we're pretending that Papa is what they call him, died. He's not here, but don't worry. Graham's fine. And we would Skype and talk with Graham. So they actually understood, he's over here. We're just pretending this is a story. And they were fully on board. They're like, okay. So I'm sad. I'm happy. And it was amazing for me, it was a very rewarding experience to be able to act with these young, fresh minds that really understood what it was we were trying to accomplish. I think anyone who knows me outside of Heartland knows how much I love animals. But I think I myself, as an actor, am so rewarded by being able to play a role that is surrounded by animals. And this season, like you said, it really called to past relationships with different horses that Amy has worked with. And one of the nice moments for me was at the beginning of the episode, we see Amy riding Harley. Amy's never really ridden Harley in the past. That was always Ty's horse. And now we get to see, when someone passes, not only do they leave their family and friends with this heartbreak, but their animals as well. And so we see Amy really exercising Harley and having that bond with Harley. And I think that's very touching for me, because I always think about that. If I were to pass on tomorrow, what's going to happen with my animals? Who's going to take care of my animals? And people that have animals, I'm sure they always think of that, right? It's like, well, what happens? And we're prepared for that with the elderly, and when they have animals, we say, well, who's going to take your animals in the case that you're not here tomorrow? But when we're young, we don't necessarily always think about that possibility. So that again is it's a nice story with Amy being really connected with Ty through his horse. And I think that that's a very real story. And I know if someone in my life passed and I was to take care of their animal, I would really feel connected to them through their animals. So that is a beautiful story with Amy, Harley, and then of course we see Amy and Spartan, who is he's Amy's rock, next to Jack. Spartan is really what keeps Amy together. And we have this really nice story of Spartan developing arthritis and Amy not being able to do the same thing she used to do with him, but he's still so present and he's still there and he helps her teach and work with a new horse that she brings on. So that was a lot of fun for me because the character of Spartan and this young colt are supposed to be really connected. So what the Wranglers have done, knowing that story, is they have taken Stormy, the horse who plays Spartan, and Colt, the young horse that plays the colt, and paired them in together for the last year. So they have lived together for a year. So they actually are best friends. So that works so well for our story because when we have them together, they're actually like, hey, it's my buddy. And when we separate them, they're like, where's my buddy? Where's my buddy? So it works really well for a lot of moments in Heartland because when you see those two horses come together, it's genuine. It's real. It's not us, telling a horse to go to a mark or saying, come follow me I've got a bucket of grain. No, it's about those two horses genuinely caring about each other in real life. And that's what you see on screen.